Hey there folks, welcome to another Train Sim Classic video. Today we got something that came pretty much out of left field last week. It was announced we were getting a new SW1 pack, and I'm all about switchers, so this was very much welcomed by myself, and I'm sure the community as well, because still the best switch we have is probably the old SW1500, I think. And it's pretty old. Anyway, this is made and developed by third-party developer Repo, who's well, made a bunch of stuff for Train Sim Classic, and definitely in the upper tier of DLC that you can buy on Steam. One of the most recent notables, of course, are the AEM7. Geez, he did the Baldwin Centipede, the GP20, the list goes on, and they're all pretty decent in their own right. This is going to cost you about $19.99, so 20 bones, which is about the common price for your Train Sim Classic DLCs. Now you're going to get the B&O, Baltimore and Ohio, BN, Burlington Northern, New York Central, and Western Pacific liveries in this pack, so 4 altogether, with the number range to go along with them. Of course, I know BN got theirs from GN and CB&Q, so we'll check that out in just a minute. And you will get scenarios for multiple maps or add-ons or routes within Train Sim Classic, but for those, I think a majority of those, you will need many add-ons, not only rolling stock, namely for the add-ons, but the routes themselves. Of course, you can just buy this thing by itself and use it by itself, with like I'm using here with the lovely Searchlight Simulation rolling stock. We're kind of pretending this is later in life than this BN's SW1, and it's using these nice 2-bay ACFs that we got here. But the SW1 was a 600 horsepower early diesel electric switcher built by EMD, built 1938 to 1953, featuring the 567 prime mover, and it was their first prime mover built by them, put in this thing for the very first time. It was a 6-cylinder, of course, so not the 12-cylinder. Total of 661 were produced outright. Specs were something like almost 200,000 pound weight, max speed of 65, although I doubt very many went that fast, and 49,000 pound tractive effort. Now, the designation SW1 stood for S was the 600 horsepower, I guess S in 6. W meant welded, as the original models were cast, so they were called SC, and then the 1 was the designation for the first in the series of the locomotive. Later they just said the SW meant switcher, but that's basically how it began. Alright, so the pack actually comes with a manual, which is always nice, that describes everything within the pack that you're going to get, the history of the engine, all the liveries. Of course, you got your controls, your cab controls and locations, operating, because you can do cold and dark like a lot of the Repo stuff, troubleshooting, and your scenario descriptions and what you'll need for it, time, and all that. Alright guys, here's what you're going to get in the pack. From left to right, the B&O, BNN, New York Central, and Western Pacific. So these things were built for many years. They did see an upgrade post-World War II. They actually saw a brief pause in production due to the war years, but they started back. After they started back and upgraded them, they got a 567A prime mover, updated the car body. The original had like a single taper on the cab, whereas the next one had a double taper and a few other minor changes. But the B&O, I believe, had 16 units, numbered 200 to 215, and then later changed. This one here obviously says 8406. Yeah, numbers change. I'm not the best with roster numbers, nor do I really look into it too deeply, to be honest. The B&N had 19 units, I think, from GN, CB&Q. I think they were in the 70s and the 90s. They also had a 104, being that they came from different roads at the time. This one here has 77, so it seems pretty much apropos. The New York Central had 103 of these units, numbering 600 to 620, 622 to 654, and 574 to 599. And the Western Pacific, last but not least, had 2, 502 and 503. By and large, I think most of these models are going to be the same. I don't think there's any changes between the four, to be honest, besides the liveries themselves. But overall, as with a lot of repo DLC over the years, the model itself looks pretty damn good. It's, like I said, in the upper tier of North American train sim stuff, without question. Especially, up against some of the other switchers like the SW12, the SW1500. Those were okay. I think those were RSC. But they do look good. It's not over the top. There's not too much edge wear. There is quite a bit on the old AAR style trucks, but it's not super duper crazy. It doesn't really have too much of that kind of rounded out look, sanded down look, thankfully. That's about the worst of it, is along the trucks. Um, if I had my way, I'd have it just be a little bit more sharp and less kind of roundish looking. Trying to think of an accurate way to put it, but they look okay overall. It doesn't look like that on the body itself. The body itself does look pretty good. The dimensions look pretty good. The SW1 had an interesting body on it. It was like, the porch was pretty massive front to back, and then the actual body of the locomotive itself seemed rather small. It had one of the notable features, how you're always looking at an SW1, is the sandbox on the front. This thing right here looks like a bench right under the grill. But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty darn good. It looks as it should. Early unit, so I had single chime. I'm guessing it was an A200 Leslie. Got your bell up there, which is animated as well. Single headlight, so not the later double beam. As far as the Western Pacific, the font looks good. The logo looks good. It doesn't look quite 4K, but it looks pretty good as opposed to a lot of the stuff we get off the Steam store anyway. The coloring is a bit poppy. So some of the colors to me in this just look like they stand out a bit too much. The WP orange and then the Baltimore and Ohio blue, that just looks like a crazy, super bright blue to me. Again, could be settings. I do use Railwork Enhancer. I do have the AP Weather Pack installed. Who knows? It could be the yellow and the fact that this yellow looks more of like a gold instead of like the kind of brighter yellow. Plus, a lot of the older photos were obviously old. You had, I think, one that was officially repainted in the B&O blue and yellow. But overall, they look pretty good. They don't stand out too much. They're not, ultra shiny. They are weathered appropriately. By and large, the model of these things look pretty damn good. Another notable feature with the SW1 is the single stack placed there. Even get rivet countering and look at the hinges and the bolts on top here, and the grills look pretty good model-wise. Got your bell. We'll check out the interior here in just a moment. Naturally, the diamond plate on the top looks pretty good. The weathered handrails. Another thing, these things were not multiple unit working, especially in the early years. I think they fitted them out later to be MU, so you will not see MU cables. It was a one and done kind of deal with these things in their early years, but overall, the model looks pretty darn good. You got your New York Central here with your stripes on the plow, of course, and they look centered. I don't see any kind of like crazy off-angled bits or anything like that you may see in some other models released on the Steam store. Again, the numbers look appropriate, as does the font on the New York Central. It's still going to have the single sealed beam, headlight, single stack, bell, one chime. Pretty much, like I said, all these are going to be about the same as with the B&N that we see here, and the Baltimore and Ohio. So let us get in this bad mamma jamma and do a cold and dark. It's not too tough. All you got to do is take a quick peek at the manual. As with a lot of the, dare I say, you could call this Pro Line, especially compared to some of the stuff we've got recently that's dubbed Pro Line, which most certainly is not. I would say this would be more of a candidate for the Pro Line moniker anyway. But we got the B&N here. I got some hoppers sitting here behind us. We'll just kind of play around a bit, see how this thing feels. naturally hopping the BN one with the stripes on the back. Looks very, very nice. Let's go ahead and get in this bad boy. We'll turn the light on. It does look pretty good in here. As with a lot of the repo stuff, the interior modeling is still upper tier. You know, definitely some of the better North American stuff that we get in Train Sim Classic. It's got the green paint on the interior, which these came with, pretty much one and all. Got the wood flooring, looks pretty good. You can even see the gigantic Phillips head screws. Those things, is that like a 1-inch screw? Those things look massive. Yeah, that's a big screw, but they look good, you know, for us rivet counters out there. The wood paneling, of course, got your handbrake on there. Even that looks good, and the gears in that. You cannot open the door. Neither door. Will go to the side over here as well, which isn't the end of the world. It'd be kind of neat if you could, though. Get that Canadian air conditioner going during the warmer months. You can open the windows, although go to this side as well. Open those too, but it does look pretty good in here. It doesn't look over the top. It's, you know, weathered nicely. It's got some nice kind of AO and shading in here. You got your little heater, your radiator, and anywho, let's get this thing fired up. It does look good in here. The glass has got a little schmag on it, not too much, maybe a little more than I would like you can really see it up there, but overall it does look good. Got the gauges in here, SW1 on there. I think we're missing some of the appropriate company logos on the gauges. You can see some bits and bobs missing out of the air gauge there. I'm trying to, yeah, it's between like 70 and 90 psi. You can see a little bit of crust and crud and rust in there, which is a nice little detail. We'll give it that. And anyway, let's get this thing fired up. Let me get the sound up here a little bit. See what this bad girl sounds like. So this thing here is your engine shutdown or startup. So you're going to want to put this in start up when you lay it down cold and dark. I think it is here, because if you put it there, it's in shut down. But you want to have it basically right there and have it to run. You're going to want to come over here. And I believe right here, you're going to want to do the engine control switch. And there should be sounds. There you go. You can hear that low kind of electrical hum. Let's see. I'm kind of quick referencing. It should be fairly easy with a lot of locomotives. Pretty much same kind of stuff. Gin field, of course, next. Same sound, no difference, obviously. Let's see. Fuel pump. There you go. You can hear that bad girl priming. So that's nice. Nice little cutesy touch on there. And then engine start. We're pretty much good to go. Then once it fires, it should be popped out, so you can leave it out. Turn the sound back down just a little bit. Looks a bit high on the equalizer. Let's listen to it there for a minute. It sounds okay. I'd give it like a 6.5 out of 10. It doesn't really have that hallmark 567 raspy, clattery, chuggy sound. Like it's there, like it's trying to get out. It needs to break free. The volume, I don't know what. It's just something. It just seems a little bit muted or quiet. You know, you can kind of hear that whine a little bit, tiny bit. There goes the compressor. Compressor just shut off. You're going to want to make sure you got this thing charged up to the tippy, at least over 130 psi, which we do have. And I noticed this thing right here, coolant shutter. Now, I didn't see anything in the manual as far as this goes, but I'm wondering if anything is animated. So you can actually change it, sort of like an old, you know, radial aircraft or something like that. Or piston even. So that's all the way open. Does anything change? Let's see. Maybe it isn't like a... I mean, it would be in the front, correct? That's the radiator, correct? So let's see if anything actually changes. So that's... It's a slow motion. You got to hold that thing down for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think anything is animated. We'll get up here. Maybe it's these vents. I honestly do not know. Be the front or the top. Try it again. Yeah, I don't think they actually do anything. I'm not sure. Maybe, you know, maybe it's an operation thing. I don't know. Kind of funky. You can see your oil pressure in there, which is kind of neat. I wonder if that actually changes at all. Your engine temp sitting at, what is that, about $1.50. And then the fuel pressure gauge is this thing here. Whatever that knob is there to the right of the shutdown, you cannot operate. Your gauges here, speed and air. Got a wheel slip indicator there. As far as the way all the plumbing and the boxes and everything in here are, it looks fairly legit. Got your headlight controls up here. Here's your headlight, number lights, gauge lights. Let's check those out. Let's get the cab light off here. They have a nice click to them as well. Not a bad little sound. Check out the exterior lights. I swear I turned the lights on. Let's get the front off. Bro. What did I miss? Did I... Engine start, control, cab heater. Huh, I had these working a second ago and I was messing around with this. So that is interesting. All right, make sure they're back in. Let's check again. There we go. And how about that? There's actually a slow animation of the light coming on. It's just not that instant, you know, LED new age where it's just bam. The color looks okay. It'd be nice if it was just a little bit more of that late day sun color, if you know what I mean. Just a more orangish kind of glow. But it doesn't look terrible. The repo stuff has always kind of tended to have this kind of green tint to it. It's got a little bit of a flare, but it's not too bad. But it looks all right. Honestly, it looks, you know, as far as like North American Train Sim content, it's passable in my eyes. You got your exhaust effect, which isn't too bad. That does change on a per notch basis. Let's listen to that build. Actually hear the pneumatic click in there, and it is animated. Listen to that single chime tootski. That sounds pretty good. Again, you know, all these things are really quiet. Like, I feel like the audio on these things could be bumped up another 50%. The prime mover sounds, the bell, it all just sounds really flat and really distant, just kind of canned, if you know what I mean. But the horn sound ain't bad at all. Sounds pretty good. It's pretty smooth. I don't hear any clipping, choppiness, no weird popping, no cutoff, anything like that. No matter how you hit the horn key, it seems pretty legit. It'd just be nice if it were a bit louder. Typically with a lot of the repo stuff, you get a short horn blast. I'm going to start hitting all the keys on the keyboard, see if anything happens. What was the short horn blast before with repo stuff? I think the C key? N? No? I think I'm out of keys now. I think that was pretty much it. Let's try shift space. No, let's try enter space. Nope. So yeah, nothing on there. But yeah, overall the interior of this thing looks pretty good. Some of the edge wear in here is quite pronounced on some of the flat or sharpened edge surfaces. Let's listen to those brake sounds, BT dubs. Let's get that handbrake off. That's a bit quiet, if I'm honest. I feel like I should be a bit louder, but it is just a handbrake. It's not the end of the world. Sander valve, pneumatic as well. Try that air sound again outside. Like, you know, again, it sounds okay. I'd say it's like upper mid. It's not bad. You know, my opinion, but it's not, it needs a lot more depth. Like, you know, bring us louder sounds and let us determine whether or not we need to turn the volume down. Don't come with like a canned muted volume. But yeah, it sounds all right. Let's try the lapping brake. There's your service, and then you got to lap it, and then it should hold, and we'll go ahead and release. We'll set it to running. Wait, there should be a, where's release? I swear there was one that said release. I actually see the notches on there. The brake audio, as far as the notching, isn't the best in the world. It's, you know, it's okay, I guess. Yeah, the inside of this thing, the longer I sit here and listen to the idle, like, it's just, like, all the tinny, all the high-pitched bits seem to be there, but there's no, like, mids or bass to it. That whine and the it's just, you know, once you go and listen to this thing and then come back and listen to this, you know, you should be able to figure it out fairly quick. Let's see what else there is here. We got the reverser. That actually doesn't sound too bad. What else is there? I don't know. Let's try them wipers. Where are the wipers? You got your one wiper animation here. That's actually a pop-in, pop-out switch. Very nice. The interior view is pretty good, especially out the back, looking out the back porch. Yeah, this thing ain't too shabby. Let's hook up to these cars here. We got a forwards, release the brakes. Set the brakes to running. Give her one notch. Did we... What did I break? Why are not you moving? Yeah, we weren't getting any amps. What was my dumbass doing just then? Alright, back forwards. That's there. Engine shutdown's good. Bell valve. Alright, let's check this handbrake again. It's just a bit slow. It'd be nice if you could, let's actually charge up the air here. There's emergency. It would be nice if it was a bit quicker on the keyboard. Alright, let's go ahead and release. There we go. It takes a second. Now it's set to run. Check this brake again. Our independent. Go ahead and release that. Okay, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So that's right, so that's tight. So left, it should be loosening. What have I fouled up here? Double check all this. Control gin field. Oh, it must have been one of the damn keys when I was hitting, looking for the short horn key, which does not exist. I hit the shortcut to gin field, so dingus moment. I do like that bench seat there with the lock on it, though. That looks nice. The padding on there. It does look pretty good in here. All right, now we may go. All right, it was a bit jumpy on that first notch. I mean, it was like, you know, it took off like a scalded dog. Pretty much instantaneous. We are hooked up. Let's go outside here. Give it a little loco brake. See if it holds at all. Barely. She's barely hanging on. Barely hanging on. Alright, so we got a small load here, but this thing was only 600 horsepowers. Let's push him down the track here and see what it feels like. So now that we got weight in front of us, let's give it a notch. Let's just listen everything out here. See how it feels, how it sounds. You can actually see the oil pressure needle move. That's kind of neat. Fuel pressure, it's kind of hard to see. Looks like it goes down a little bit, but that's just one notch. I like the animated horn pull. That's nice. It'd be nice if I had that kind of, you know, raspy reverb on the inside. Alas, it does not. Yeah, so the sounds are pretty much the same inside and out. Let's give her another notch-a-roosk. Oil pressure going up again, okay. Number 3. Now I'm starting to hear some repetitive, the clicking sound. I don't know if that's like the valves or the lifters or what. But it's repetitive, and once you hear it, you can't unhear it type of deal. Let me check the track. That might be a really good idea. Yeah, we don't have a... We'll go around the balloon loop here. We're at the grain elevator. Notch 4. And I don't know if these things had notches. The earlier models, anyway. I think it was almost just like a percentage based on the throttle input. But it's actually notching. It's 5. Yeah, that's as high as you can go is notch 5. And I think it's just because it's not actually notched. It's just how it is in Train Sim Classic. Alright, let's apply some brake here. I don't know if that's supposed to be just the run sound on the inside. It almost sounds like wind. Could definitely use the more heavy kind of suspension banging the rails sound. You know what I mean? I don't know if that sound is like an attempt at that or if it's supposed to be wind. If it's supposed to be wind, 100%. It sounds like wind. It's like a lot of these sounds are like, you know, close, almost there. Brakes on this thing are not amazing. They are not optimal. We are pretty much maxed out. And she's barely slowing down. Now, this is a bit of a grade going down to the end of the stub. Slowing down a little. Frames wise, this thing is pretty smooth. I'm not getting any kind of crazy frame hit. It's not too shabby at all. The interior light with, you know, a lot of stuff in Train Sim Classic can affect your frames. This does not seem to be the case here. Seems all right. So far, so good. We are just about stopped here. And then we'll reverse back. Highball it. All right, now we go reverse. We will apply the independent brake. And we'll give it a notch. We'll release the train brake. You can actually hear the compressor under there, which is pretty nice. Release the loco brake. Inching backwards now, and we'll just display the kind of dynamic exhaust effect. So that's obviously the first notch, or a little bit of power applied. We'll release it completely to idle. Kind of fades out, dims away there. One notch again. A little bit darker. Notch 2. A little bit thicker. 3. Yeah, that notch 3 or the third position in the throttle does not sound great with that repetitive clickiness. Notch 4. It doesn't seem to change much, the smoke dynamic effect overall, once you get past about that third notch. And 5. Now, I think these things maxed out at 800 RPM IRL, which it seems to be. At least it has it on the HUD. It's currently at 800 RPM. Let's check that track real quick. Let's see if we can switch over here. We'll do a little balloonage. There we go. That's what we want. Wait a minute. I just messed it up. There we go. So it looks like the oil pressure does go up a little bit. Engine temp, I think it stays right about the same. I think the fuel pressure did go up as well on the gauge. Let's close those shutters, see if that changes anything on the temp. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, I'm going to go to the right is closed. And how about that, guys? The needle is actually moving. Okay, so now one wonders, can you blow her up? Will she overheat? Lose power? It's going to about 166 right now. It was steady at 150 with the rads wide open. We'll do a little run by down here, see what she sounds like. Pretty good distance. So these are new sounds, that's apparent. I don't know where they came from, but they are new. They're just not great. They just don't have that depth to them. That notable 5, 6, 7 chug. It's just real tinny sounding. I don't think there's any Doppler audio effect with this thing at all. At least it seems like there's not. You know, physics-wise, though, the brakes suck. They are terrible. I don't know if they would have been this bad. You know, possibly they could. But it took forever to stop down there with just a handful of cars here. We got about 20 cars. But it was small. Weight has got a lot to do with your tractive effort, obviously, your braking power and things like that. We're going back uphill, 0.8% grade. Again, 600 horsepower. We're maxed out throttle. And she's holding, but also kind of going down in the same regard. Trying to be quiet for the flange squeal. You can hear it a tiny bit. Don't hear it inside. But of course, with a lot of the repo stuff, you can put down a running unit, a cold and dark unit, and then a either or unit with or without an AI person in the driver's seat or engineer seat. I don't even know why the hell I just said driver's seat, but you know what I mean. Yeah, I mean, the thing is not bad. Overall, it's very, very upper mid. That, you know, the lack of the good 567 sounds kind of kill it. They just need to be a bit more chomp, a bit more bassy, a lot more depth. It just seems real ratty and tinny sounding. But overall, it looks great. The model looks pretty damn good. At current standing, I'd say this probably falls into about the 7. And it sucks to judge it like this, but when you judge it compared to all the other stuff that we have recently gotten, you know, over the last few months, last few years, this is upper tier, 100%. But like on the grand scale of things, you know, I'd still say it's probably about a 6.5, almost a 7. The sounds kind of really kill it. You know, some of the sounds are nice. It's got that wind up. That's what's funny. When you start this thing up, you can hear that 567 in there trying to get out, and then it just disappears and you don't ever hear it again. It's really weird. But overall, it's not a bad little switcher. It looks okay. I would imagine that people are probably going to mod this thing to the moon and back with some things, some liveries, obviously. Then again, I don't know how liveries are with the repo stuff. I don't know many livery mods out there with repo stuff, to be exact, but the light color is a bit wrong. It looks like your modern day, you know, kind of bright white. It would be nice if it were just a bit more golden. It's just too white. It's too kind of colorless, color codeless, just like pure white almost. Almost got a tinge or hint of green. But yeah, this thing ain't too shabby. You get 4 liveries, which look pretty good. Except for the B&O blue. It just seems a bit off to me, a bit too bright. But physics-wise, like power-wise, seems okay. I mean, this thing, it's taking everything this thing has got to move this cut of 2 bays that we got here. Braking is horrendous, so you really need to pay attention to that. But it's not a bad little pack. This thing snuck up on us out of nowhere. They released an article about it last week. Like, hey, oh, by the way, Ripple's working on an SW1. Here you go. Like, okay. And then, boom, today. Oh, guess what? Here it is. It's in the store. You can go buy it now. So it's kind of strange. It makes me wonder if it was something that was on the back burner for a while. He finally got around to finishing it. If it was something that was maybe going to go into one of the high iron simulations packs, which probably would have been my guess. The conspiracy theorist in me is probably supposed to go in one of those packs, but it wasn't yet ready. And they figured, no. Release it separate. And then for people to use the scenarios, because a lot of people that play Train Sim Classic, it's all about the scenarios. They want the points. They want the stars. They want the gold. And Gary from High Iron was like, no. Release it, and then release it to where you need all this extra shit from me to be able to play the scenarios, which is like over $100 worth of content. Who knows? I don't know, but it's, by itself, without any of the High Iron schmeggery, this thing's pretty damn nice. I mean, it looks nice. The sounds are not great, but overall, like in the looks department, it ticks 2 with the looks and the physics. That lurch on the first power-up notch light engine was a bit much. It didn't kind of wind up and slowly start moving. It was just like, bam, like something ran into it, just started moving. But the SW1, guys, 4 liveries by Repo. I'll link down below where you can get this thing. But it's not a bad little bit of kit. Sounds would be amazing, but it is what it is. It's what you get by default. And that is it, guys. Hope you found the video informative to a degree anyway. And we'll see you next time. Take care, guys.